Glencoe, under Glencoe, yes.
Today, virtually all Zambian copper mines are owned by multinational corporations.
Glencoe, under Glencoe, yes.
Today, virtually all Zambian copper mines are owned by multinational corporations.
Globally, our estimate is that the amount of money flowing out of developing countries is 10 times the amount of foreign aid flowing into developing countries.
They should contribute. These mining industries, they export and we don't know what they're doing with our money. If they're exporting our minerals, the money must come back to Zambia.
In 1990, Uganda's government budget was over 60% funded by foreign aid. Citizens weren't footing the bill, so when billions went missing through corruption, there was little backlash. This isn't just one story, it's a recurring pattern across multiple countries. Today's video examines how aid distorts accountability, warps incentives, and leaves governments more responsive to donors than their own people. The results are both surprising and troubling. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. This dynamic is best understood through the export paradox tied to currency movements. East Asian economies such as South Korea and Taiwan built sustained growth by anchoring their industrialization in exports. Their strategy depended on maintaining competitive exchange rates. A weaker currency meant lower international prices, which encouraged demand abroad and allowed factories at home to expand. In Africa, the process unfolded differently. Aid inflows changed currency values in ways that undermined competitiveness.
Beneath the ground are the largest copper reserves in Africa, an essential commodity in the global economy.
We are wealthy, yet we are poor.
We're aware that Africa is losing more money from tax avoidance by foreign companies every year than it's gaining from aid from the countries from which these people come.
The name of the game is to shift your profits out of the high-tax countries, the onshore countries such as in Africa, where the profits are actually being made.
The sequence is straightforward. Donors provide dollars or euros. These funds must be converted into local money, and that additional demand for local currency leads to currency appreciation. A stronger exchange rate makes exports more expensive for foreign buyers, while imports become cheaper. For industries attempting to break into international markets, this shift removes the price advantage needed to compete. The result is reflected in trade outcomes. Africa's exports account for only about 20% of GDP, and the continent contributes less than 3% to global trade. By contrast, East Asian economies in their growth decades achieved export to GDP shares far above Africa's levels, and those higher shares created the scale that sustained industrialization. With currencies buoyed by aid inflows, many African countries remained concentrated in raw commodities, lacking competitiveness to establish strong manufacturing bases. Currency appreciation produces short-term benefits for consumers who can access imported goods at lower costs. But from a development perspective, it weakens the incentive to invest in industries that need to sell abroad. When local products become more expensive relative to international competitors, investment in manufacturing and export infrastructure slows. What seems like a sign of stability, a stronger local currency, can in practice create barriers to the industrial diversification that successful growth models require.
God has blessed us with such an abundant natural resource. Now, the paradox is that Zambia is ranked among the bottom 20 in terms of poverty, 20 poorest countries.
A lot of people think that we in the West have been extremely generous in the amount of foreign aid that we provide to the developing countries and particularly to Africa.
So the current investors should wake up, stand up and be counted, and they should not wait for the government to push them. We don't have time pushing people.
Yet, despite the boom, the foreign investors paid virtually nothing in profit tax in Zambia. One reason could be transfer pricing.
The global picture underscores this structural limitation. Despite a population exceeding 1 billion, Africa's share of international trade remains minimal, and manufactured exports form only a small fraction of that figure. The dependence on primary commodities exposes economies to volatile global price cycles while denying them the steady, employment-rich growth that accompanies a strong export base. Aid, by contributing to currency appreciation, continues to reinforce this structural weakness. Comparisons with East Asia highlight the paradox clearly. Taiwan and South Korea, while receiving some external support, relied far less on aid. Their competitive currencies enabled export-oriented industries to thrive, generating foreign income and supporting broad-based development. African economies, saturated with aid, faced exchange rates that undercut their trading position. The very financial transfers meant to support progress ended up discouraging it by eroding conditions necessary for export-oriented growth. This paradox links back to the broader pattern already seen in institutions and local markets. Across multiple dimensions, aid has not only missed its stated objectives but in many cases has entrenched the very obstacles it was designed to remove.
The problem is no longer so much one of absolute poverty, it's become one of inequality, and Zambia is really a case in point for this.
God, He gave copper to Zambia. And these people, if they don't respect the Zambian soil where there is copper, mining or any other business venture in Zambia.
Transfer pricing is an enormously damaging phenomenon right the way across Africa.
The evidence points to three core mechanisms. Aid weakens political accountability, displaces local industry, and triggers currency appreciation that undermines exports. These outcomes restrict diversification and growth, leaving economies dependent rather than competitive. A more effective approach would emphasize institution building, strengthening rule of law, securing property rights, expanding domestic taxation, and ensuring governments are accountable to citizens rather than donors. Supporting local enterprise is central, while large-scale cash transfers alone have not delivered sustained progress. Aid does retain a necessary role in emergencies such as famine, epidemics, or conflict, but as a long-term development strategy it has consistently fallen short without institutional reform.
Who once threatened to march on the copper plants if they didn't pay their taxes, became vice president. It's the London Metal Exchange, where the world market price on copper is determined. Between 2001 and 2008, the price on copper nearly quadrupled.
And shift them artificially into low-tax countries, into tax havens, where they won't be taxed or won't be taxed properly.
Do you think aid should be reformed or phased out? Share your perspective in the comments, and if you value deep, data-driven analysis, consider liking this video and subscribing for more. Although aid is still vital in times of crisis like starvation, epidemics, or war, it has continuously failed as a long-term development plan in the absence of institutional change. Do you believe that help should be phased out or reformed? If you like in-depth, data-driven analysis, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more. You can also share your thoughts in the comments below,